Welcome back. It's been a while since I've done much in the shop. The most recent video I just posted was actually taken a few months ago about power windows and stuff and all the wiring. So I'm going to continue with that because I need to push this thing outside, and you'll notice there's no windshield. Well, that's a problem when it starts to snow and whatnot. So in order to put a windshield in there, I got to put the dash in, so I don't have to undo it again. In order to put the dash in, I got to make sure I've got my insulation of my wires across the firewall, which, yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff in here. It turns into a drop zone. But since this is an 80, there's no provisions to hold the wiring harness for the power windows and locks. Whereas 81, they had clips that would go across the firewall because that was kind of a separate harness. It went on before the dash and everything else. It actually was behind the defrost vents coming up. So I got to figure out all that. And then, so these are all the harness, which if you just watch the other video, you're familiar with what's going on here. So this is the main, I guess the main harness. It goes over to the passenger side. These are all my relays for it. And then this end hooks into here, and this is the driver's door. So I've got a lot of repairs like this. I've got to fix all of those wires. I would love to be able to just unthread everything, put heat shrink over the top of it, put them all on, but that requires literally unthreading the entire thing so I can get it. So I'm doing this. Liquid electrical tape. And then, of course, they're going to get covered in you know, the wiring harness tape, like what's on there. That's going to go in the middle here too. I found a bunch of harness retainers out of a few different vehicles out there. 80 something pickup off the floor. There's a Fury I'm parting out. Pulled some out of there. There's one in a van that I parted out. I just snagged them from wherever I could. I've probably got more than I need, but that way I can put the wires up there, hold them over. I didn't want to use the kind of wiring harness clips that basically clip completely together and you can't undo them without getting in there and prying on them just right, or the worse yet, the ones that screw on and they're a loop, so you can't get the wires out unless you unscrew it. So I didn't want to do that in case for some stupid reason I got to change it or move it or whatever down the road, or just while I'm putting it all together. So there's that. There's this. I got my dash. There's another video about the dash, about making the holes for the AC ducts and stuff, and it stinks because about a week and a half after I got done with that, I drug home another parts truck and it's got an AC dash in it. Well, that's for the next project, I guess. We'll just say that. So the other thing I got to do, and we'll get to, that'll be one of the first things we'll see here. This is where the speaker obviously was. This is the bracket that was there. You know, goes in there like so. Obviously on the back side. Well, I'm not putting a speaker there. I'm putting them in the cab corners and maybe the doors. So I gotta cover that. So I'm gonna put this back in there. This is some crafter foam, whatever, just like a 1/4 inch thick, which is really close to how thick this little seal was originally. I'll glue that on there. This is pretty stiff, but just out of a sense of paranoia, I'm probably gonna put some of this stuff in there. I know other videos I've done have shown this. You know, it's just a thin aluminum kind of stuff. This is the grill toppers. They use it as kind of a sacrificial layer so your meat doesn't stick to your grill. Stuff is cheap. This particular set of them I got from Walmart. Normally I try to get them from Ace Hardware, but just cut them to fit in there. It just gives a little more support behind this, so maybe on a hot day that foam might start to sag a little bit or something. Well, I don't want that to happen. I'll put either a layer underneath these bolts, or maybe I'll put a layer down here and then glue this piece over the top. We'll see how it goes as I start putting it all together. And that will kind of finish that part of the dash for now. There we go. Easy part is done. Looks beautiful, almost like it's not there. On the inside, while we wait for this liquid electrical tape to cure, it's a 24-hour process. Can't really do anything else with my wires right now. So let's talk about insulation, firewall insulation. So this is a piece out of an 88. It's kind of a one solid piece. oddly enough, I've got a 90 out there that has remnants of, you know, kind of looks like that batt insulation, similar to what the 70s era would have. But initially, this is what I thought I was going to use. It's household duct wrap, so like your ducts and your vents for your HVAC system in the house. It's foil faced. I thought that'll work good. I can glue the fuzzy side down, then I've got a smooth side, and that would be enough to last for 20 restorations. You need so little of it. But the more I thought about it, I was like, you know, first off, I'll never get it back in the bag, but all that fuzzy hair stuff, that's always going to be kind of there, falling apart and whatnot else, and shoving it in the corners, it's going to tear up and whatnot. So I pulled this out, got it out, actually came out pretty well. There's a few differences. Like there's a hole here for the bracket that holds the dash, and then the resistor for the blowers over here. Oh yeah, ignore the cool brown carpet. That's for my other van. But anyway, so I thought about just putting this in there. I thought, well, no, it's just it's not like it's bad, but it's just a little bit whatever. And then I thought, wait a minute, I have some leftovers from the house remodel. This is the padding underneath the carpet in the house. This probably isn't going to have any type of heat resistance, you know, say like the ductwork stuff over there will. But it's about the same thickness as this. Should work, I mean, it's padding underneath carpet in the house, so it should work good for vibration and sound and things like that. And I've got enough leftover chunks. There's a big piece. So I'm thinking I'm going to go with this because, you know, it's got the smooth side, which I could either use that when I glue it down, but I think I might try to glue this side down with all the little pieces that are stuck together. That way it's kind of a smoother surface, so if a guy has to reach up underneath the dash for some reason to work on something, or just as I'm putting it all together, this might hold together better than like this. I think it's it's pretty even just because this is a pretty solid, you know, glued together mishmash of foams. So I'm not sure which way I'll do it. I'll do it one of these ways. I'm probably kind of use that as a little bit as a pattern, so that's kind of nice. I don't have to like guess so much. Or I'll just start shoving it up in the holes and behind the heater box and just trim off what I don't need and go from there. I don't know. We'll see. Change of plans. This insulation, and if I would have thought about it, I would have realized that this was not going to work. I mean, I was looking at it from the standpoint of it's a nice thick, or a nice consistent thickness. It's not over fluffy, blah, blah, blah. Well, what this stuff is known for, this carpet backing, is the fact that it doesn't give it. It rebounds. It's crush resistant, which means it doesn't bend very nice. Well, on the firewall, it's got to bend around all kinds of complex corners, and I just couldn't get it to stick and stay. It would stick, and then it would just peel itself right off. So I ended up going with this ductwork insulation. So I've got my wires in there now. Kind of duct tape the top a little bit just to keep it in a better place when I put the actual dash frame in. But I got it threaded through here. I put a couple extra retainers in. It does two things. It helps hold the insulation down too, and obviously hold the wires where they need to be. This connector here is where all the relays are. There's like 3 of them, I think. So, happy little accident. I intended to cut the little studs off of the speaker mount on the inside of the dash, you know, the one that's up here. But I forgot to do that, and I put everything back together. Well, I need a place to mount those relays. Well, that's right about here in the middle. That's right about here in the middle. So I'm going to use those little studs sticking off the bottom of the old speaker mount to bolt the relays to. So that actually works out really nice. And the next thing is I'm going to slip the dash frame in, and I'll probably try to mount those up right away while I'm thinking about it, and while there's not much else in the way, because once all the ductwork gets put in, it gets pretty packed and cluttered in there. And then once that's done, then I can get the windshield in, or I can work on the rest of the wires for the power windows and stuff, because after I I fixed everything. I wrapped them in tape. I wrapped them in harness tape. I checked everything, make sure that they were still good, all connections. Well, I still have a lot of this kind of stuff I need to fix once I get it in the door and kind of understand how long, because some of these are way longer than they need to be. So once I get it in and kind of get an understanding where everything needs to be, I may shorten some of these wires, but we're in good shape right now. There it is, looking as beautiful as it can right now, considering it's black and it's tough to see anyway. So, I did have to change a couple things getting it in. Got it in on the second try. So I had to move this wiring retainer, harness retainer, and this harness retainer, because this ductwork for the defrost is right up against the firewall anyway. It's really, really tight. And this was up a little higher, and then it didn't have enough clearance for that. So I had to move this down about as far as I could before the firewall starts to slope in, and I moved this one down too, just so the wire wasn't making an uphill just to go down. It was already snug enough already on this end. And the other thing I had to do, same thing kind of over with this duct, right where the bracing kind of comes up for the steering column and whatnot. I trimmed a bunch of that insulation out for the same reason. It's really tight in there, and that helped a little bit. So it's in there, and I will try to show you what everything looks like up in there. If I'm showing, there we go. Now you can kind of see, showing the where the two relays are and how they're mounted. Initially, I had them mounted on the screws farther forward, and I thought I would probably run out of room, and I would have. So I moved them back even before I moved the whole setup in. So now I just have to. Well, I'll put the windshield in so I can move it outside if I need to, but now I can start working on things like putting in the ductwork for the AC, put the dash pad in, that kind of stuff. Actually, no, I can't. I can put the ductwork in, but I gotta go find my dash harness and that kind of stuff first before I get too ambitious with all the rest of the things that bolt to the dash frame itself.